Hello, everyone, and welcome to a fourth round matchup in our Free Enterprise Fabul Gauntlet tournament. The end of the Swiss rounds are in sight, and tonight's players are looking for a win to secure at least a play-in game to the brackets phase. My name is Twisted Flax, and with me tonight, making sure the levels are level, is Shalakitty. Making sure our displays get displayed is PK4787. And last but not least, joining me to add their comments from the commentary booth is Flurry14. How are things going for you, Flurry?
Pretty good. Looking forward to this particular match. We got two very, very solid runners. If you've been running any the bevy of asyncs that we've had for practices, you have played against both of these folks quite a bit. Zilch and Antidale both coming in here at 2-1. Zilch getting here by way of a win in the first round against Alicel, win in round 2 against Dr. Cossack, and then a loss to some scrub named Flurry14. And then Antidale, yeah, Antidale getting here with a super tight race against Dark Paladin, a win against round of 32 Zemastone Rexrawl, and then a win against Beer Nerd. So standing here at 2-1, a win here guarantees at least the play-in round. A loss here means you essentially have a play-in game to make a play-in game. So this is super important as we get further along here. And looks like that is a Palom start. How you feel about a Palom start?
Surprisingly not too bad. It only really takes one fight to get them up to speed, at least get to the second level spells to make them really strong. And if you find a way to get Quake up and running, I mean, you'll be carried right through the mid game.
Yep, with Palom, the trick is always that first fight, and a lot's going to depend on what we see as the second character, but if you can get past that first fight and get to Ice 2, sometimes you like to do Hobbs first because that experience is guaranteed. If you do Antlion Cave first, you may get it, but every once in a while you get one of those bosses that doesn't give you all the experience, and then you're left there with like, oh look, I just faced Dr. Luge, I'm still sitting on Lit 1, what do I do now?
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky to see that with Palom, but by and large, once you get past that first fight, you have a pretty good way to tackle the rest of the early game.
I know when I'm staring at a screen with Palom on it, I'm just hoping to get a really decent melee character, something like a Kane or even a Sid, that would help balance out that early game, help me get Palom powered up until we can get to that mid game Quake.
Yeah, I mean Quake is the big turning point for Palom. So if we get especially early underground access, I would expect to see both runners to check all gated shops as soon as possible, because getting that Quake spell is super important, and it's going to bring all your boss fight times to down under a minute, which on the early game, that's around where you want to be. Every once in a while you'll get something kind of nasty, but you want to keep your early game fights around a minute or less, and Palom's a good choice to do that, especially if he gets that Quake spell.
Absolutely. I'm hoping I can maybe find even just one siren in a chest in the overworld, so I know I can just go down, crack an egg, and probably get to that point.
Yeah, Palom's one of those characters also that you might occasionally see one of those alternate grind options that you don't often see anybody else take. For example, like maybe you crack a door, Luca key, maybe you get a Darkness Crystal and you go to the moon and do a reaction grind. But looks like we're about to get started here, so we'll get a good look at our second character.
And it's another twin.
Wow, okay, so apparently the Bella twins are here because we've got some twin magic that's about to happen for the first few parts of the seed. Palom and Morum being in the same party means we get to use that twin spell, and how is that awesome?
That is great, and apparently the absentee parents here will give them a longsword and give them the keys to the airship and set them on their way. That's not great.
Yeah, I do like to see sometimes whether or not a runner decides to sell an early awesome edge weapon, thinking I'm not really going to see a ninja very often. So you guys see 2 boss hunts, Return of the Pant, 3 boss hunts. Okay. So this could be pretty nasty. Those bosses can be absolutely anywhere. And one of those triggers you see for full clear that tends to happen is you get a boss in the giant, or you get a boss in the package, the Invenerable Special. And with 3 bosses in here, it could be a little while, but we do see a nice little bonus in the Baron Inn, don't we?
That's nice Ogre Axe there. And
Good.
what else did you find?
Good old Derek Mist is sitting in there as the first boss
there
fight.
He is, yes. That's one more boss. That's one more check off your list. You know, you can go grab that key item in Mist once you've beaten them.
Yeah, that spot is great for several reasons. If you've ever ran these seeds and you've run across D-Mist on the moon, sitting with 30k HP and you can't use Zerk on him, it is not a good time. So finding him here with 300 HP is awesome. We do see Zilch deciding to loot Baron, and Antidale is skipping out looting Baron, is going to go straight to Damsian.
Interestingly enough, he's choosing to raise the hovercraft here when it's not strictly necessary based upon the objectives. But when you consider that you do have 3 boss hunts facing you, you might have to go into that the hook cave and see who's there.
Yeah, I definitely like calling up the hook early. Taking the hovercraft to Antline Cave is a little bit faster by like about a second and a half, assuming you can navigate those shoals in the north that have like a couple of one-tile turns. But if you get past that, and it's something I like to do if you have a character or a team that you know is going to deal with anything and everything that's at the Antline Cave, and pretty much unless we see a CPU here, it's going to be a pretty easy fight with the twin spell.
Right. I mean, that's just having both of them right up front gives you just a lot of power and a lot of access to very granted weak versions of the spells, but still, it's very nice to see.
It is going to be interesting to see with 3 boss fights here whether or not the runners decide at some point in time to kind of forsake efficiency as far as key items go, and then instead decide to worry about how many bosses can I possibly take on here. Because as far as other objective goes, we really only need 1 key item, and Darkness Crystal we're going to see, but otherwise we just need the pan. This is one of the boss fights you actually don't want to see here with the twins.
And a quick reset tells you that Antidale is thinking exactly the same thing.
Yeah, basically anything that has Reflect is going to be problematic, because while Twin can come out with Comet and, hey, you don't have to worry about a Reflect there, it can also do Flare, and Flare is reflectable, and our characters do not really have the HP here to deal with that.
No, definitely not. Although, to be fair, I mean, this is one place where you don't necessarily mind seeing them, because there's so few hit points divided amongst the 3 sisters that there will be a pretty quick battle once you have the ability to get through the wall.
Yeah, you're absolutely thrilled to see them in this spot, just maybe not with this team. Antidale showing some good heads-up play here, equipping the Assassin Dagger, which you usually would never put on Palom because it lowers his magic, but it does also increase his speed, and that increases his speed enough to get the Boreas off to be able to one-shot the sisters. So well done. Legend Sword, it's a key item, and that's about it.
Especially because you're not even guaranteed necessarily to see Cecil in this seed, so you might not even need the Excalibur.
Yeah, Ordeals is almost certainly on the table with 3 boss hunts here. I mean, any location with 3 bosses is going to be something that the runners are going to want to check. So, and with us running on C standard, we're going to see every character. Well, we may not see every character, but every character is somewhere.
Right, they're all available, and there's one duplicate out there as well. But just because of the way that the seed may run, we might just not hit a couple of those character locations, especially because we're not really in the middle of the character hunt either.
Yeah, finding Kypo guards in the waterfall. I'm not a huge fan of checking the waterfall super early, because yeah, it's information you get, and that's kind of nice, but you're gonna have to go back there a second time if it does happen to be required, because while that spot isn't necessarily threatening, it's fast and has a lot of HP. So it's one of those checks I like to check a little later, where I know if I need it, I can just take it out in one turn. We're gonna see who's on Hobbs here.
It's Edward with either Rubicon or the Elements.
Yeesh. Okay, so
it's the Elements. Okay.
Elements, not too bad. You would have rather seen Rubicante here because Palom has Ice 2, so he'd be able to finish that in one go. Comet may get the... Ooh, no, 219, that does not.
No.
Should still be okay. If a second cast of Twin doesn't get it done, we might get to see Ice 2, but the worrisome thing here... Oh, Flare is what you wanted. Okay, we're good. The spell power on that spot is kind of brutal.
Zilch did get through the Mega Sisters with a Comet Twins cast, leaving Cindy up by herself, which it could have been a problem if the timing was wrong and she could have revived her sisters, but thankfully we're still able to get through it without much problem.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a risk. If you get Flare and that gets bounced off you, your fight is essentially over. Now one point that you hear a lot of runners talk about in this particular flag set, because we tend to want to play the long game, is whether or not you're going to put off spots that you are potentially going to double dip, and one of them is Fabul. So you'll see sometimes a lot of runners that will skip Fabul Castle initially, thinking, I'd like to only do one spot here. Antidale is choosing to do Fabul right now, so let's see how you feel about that.
Well, on the one hand, you do know that you are going to have to bring the pan back, so that is going to be at least another check here. But on the other hand, where else would you want to go? Right now you have Ordeals and back to the Baron Inn, and right now I'm not sure if my party is strong enough to face either of those locations. With Edward's my third character from Hobbs, so let's come here, get a couple more levels, maybe build up and maybe get a decent key item that can unlock something else.
Yeah, I think the party composition is definitely the kicker here. Zilch having an unfortunate situation here, casting using a vampire on that which is dead. Unfortunately, it reversed it, so Edward took 690 damage. That's a bummer. Might still be okay here, but if Fire 3 comes out, I think that's a wipe.
Ooh, that is probably not going to be survivable. No, not at all. Unfortunate. But if you can get that timing right, and you can get Rubicon to show himself in the Elements fight, you do have the Ice 2, which will probably clear out that fight. But Zilch has said that he's got enough. He's also heading to Fabul.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see Zilch skip that fight at all. Zilch is totally capable of managing without that extra 4K experience or so. Pale Dim, though, is kind of a bummer here as well for a little bit of the same reason. Most of our spells we have here are elemental. Now Comet and Flare, not so much. So if you get a couple good rolls, we're all right. All right, cool. Got that Pale Dim down. Yeah, it's always a bummer finding Pale Dim early on when Palom is your damage engine, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I can't actually do anything. Go Mute Dagger.
If you're lucky.
Alright, so let's see what we get here from the King of Fabul. White Shirt is great armor for Forum, but it is not progression whatsoever. So
no, so you're kind of stuck right now thinking, do I go to Ordeals and try to get a few levels off the bosses there, or maybe even think about a Lilith grind for a couple of fights to get some more experience? Or do I want to take a chance at Baron Inn and get another character, get the 2 fights there? That's another possibility.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see a bevy of shopping after this. We're gonna see quite a few stores hit looking for dancing daggers would be great. A decent bow and arrow wouldn't hurt. Just basically items that are gonna kind of help us get through. Vampires, especially, would be nice here. The problem we'll run into is if we come across a boss that deals with magic particularly well and requires you to have some kind of physical attack, because when it comes to physical attack, this team don't got it.
No, I mean, it's right now, this is a kind of a pretty tough seed right now in terms of having to roll with the punches and deal with what it gives you, because right now it hasn't given you very much.
If our runners are feeling a little spicy, they could try an early dip into the Baron Inn and hope for something kind of free there, or at least something that's vulnerable enough to elemental spells that Palom can get it done. That spot is slow, so you have 3 characters, and if you have enough life potions, as long as they're not doing a party-based attack, you can manage. and that would be 2 spots and a character. Now it's not going to solve our problem of where's the physical damage going to come from, because that character was Rydia. And yeah, not really going to do that much.
Not a solution there. Antidale did find Elven bows in Troya there, so picked up a couple of those to help with the physical side of things.
Yeah, Elven bow is the one of the weapons. When you're checking weapon shops, you generally want to look for an Elven bow, mute arrows, a thunder claw, maybe an ice claw, and then if you're really lacking a weapon for one of your fighters, Ogre Axe is generally one of the better ones, but I think we saw one early, so not going to worry about that there. Armor shops were pretty much looking for cursed rings.
Right. That's not really finding any good weapons in Silvera either.
Yeah, and well, Star Veils is nice. I mean, those are probably going to be required at some point in time, especially with the mage heavy team. Taking a note of where that is just from the first 3 characters we've had. I know it's a little early to be thinking about the Zeranos fight, but your party composition is something that's going to matter throughout the entire course of the seed. And if you've seen 3 mages and 2 nuke casters, knowing where those Star Veils are and making a note of them is super important.
Absolutely. I mean, it's never too early to start thinking about the game of the game, even at this point. And Dale apparently is happy with his shopping right now and is going to go ahead and climb up ordeals, as is Zilch.
Okay, so it's kind of hoping that Palma's Magic and then maybe an Elven Bow gets the job done here. Did buy 2, so we will have one on both Edward and Porm. Unfortunately, their strength stat is not very good. So while it's great that they'll have weapons that can do some damage, these are not the characters that are generally well equipped to handle them. Now, hopefully that doesn't even come into play, and we see bosses like Odin would be a fantastic find up here, because 1 or 2 lit 2s will get the job done. Milon Z is weak to everything under the sun, and maybe the sun itself, I'm not sure. Something like that would be pretty nice to find.
Well, we're about to get our first check here from both of our parties here. It's a sparkle.
That might actually be okay here.
Depends on which one it is. I'm happy to see Plague at this point.
Plague's okay. Weakness to, because he's flying, he has a weakness to arrows. That's going to be pretty good for Antidale, who's already going to kind of benefit from a 3rd character here. But I'm not sure the party's going to have enough to be able to do the damage without using kamikazes and rezzing your team. And we see it looked like they each had 1 in their inventory.
Yes.
I'm not sure that's going to be enough.
Well, it's enough to at least do the whole life dance to get as not much time as possible. It's not going to be ideal in terms of trying to do this fast, but at least it probably will get you through it.
Yeah, well, one really nice flare cast for 1200, another one for 600, and that gets the job done for Antidale. That I think I could be wrong here. I believe the magic stat that is taken is based on the higher order of the party. So in this case, the middle spot, what's the magic stat there for black magic, which I think is a willpower. So having Palom in the middle is nice. Is this even?
Yeah, another good thing about having Edward there at least is it does give you another body to have to do the life strats with Plague. As you can see, Zilch is having to trade off taking out Palom in order to try to keep this count going, which is really slowing him down.
Yeah, he's gonna have to burn a J item as well. No, he didn't have to end up doing it. So seeing Milon Z here is pretty great. Weak to cure magic, super weak to fire, and yeah, I didn't even get a chance to describe him, and he's already done.
So at this point, yeah, the 3rd boss here is usually a pushover. I'm not gonna say always pushover, but because he's got such low HP that you're happy to get through here. You got some experience. If you ever find a Tella, you ever find Cecil, they're powered up now. You're gonna get a key item, so this is a good use of time right now.
Yeah, pretty much as long as we don't see Wyvern here. Anything but Wyvern.
Anything but that.
You wouldn't want to see the alt Gauntlet or Luge, just not because it's difficult, but because they're long and or have cutscenes. So those would probably be the couples you want. A key item would be nice. And okay, it's the Baron key.
Well, it's one more check, it's one more character, and hopefully it'll be someone who would be able to fill out the melee fighter portion of our party.
Saw blue robe and got a little bit nervous that I might have called it, but Water Hag here is something that you don't want to see because it's a free boss in a spot that is super easy. And it's also time consuming relative to this spot. Water Hag is going to be about a 45-second fight, whether you like it or not. And this spot, normally you can finish in about 10 seconds. So, yeah.
No, I mean, it's the first one of those free fights. You're just hoping to see it at a better location, obviously. But still, I'm sure they're happy just to be able to get this out of the way.
All right, so I think that pretty much leaves Baron Inn and Baron Castle as the one spot. We know where D-Mist is, so even if the Mist Cave boss happens to be required, it's not going to have progression. So our progression has to be from somewhere in Baron.
So I have to imagine that's where they got to be headed next, because aside from maybe doing a little more shopping or checking maybe the boss and then Mist Cave again, there might be progression, but they don't necessarily need it right now. Can't think of any place else you'd want to go right now.
Yeah, I think if there's any holes in their shopping left to do, traditionally you'll see runners kind of take the circular path of, all right, I did Fabul, we'll hit the 2 shops in Troy, Solvera, go to Ordeals, now he's going to hit Mysidia, and then maybe check Agart. Sometimes you might plan on hopefully getting a Magma Key and not having to go there twice. But yeah, we see Antidale is checking out Mysidia. Does he find a cursed ring? Nope, but a Gaia helmet you might want to get.
It's one of those things that it's not terrible to get, and nothing in the weapon shop either.
And we don't generally have a whole lot of gear that boosts black magic, especially for Palom, who, for as awesome as a character as he is pretty much looking for a sorcerer's robe, a decent rod, and a Gaia helmet. That's Rune Ring too, and that's pretty much all the gear he has to boost his magic.
So the one weapon I'd be looking for right now, especially because I got 2 people in my party with bows attached, are mute arrows, because they're so useful in so many different boss spots.
Yeah, even a charm arrow, since we found elven bows, we're gonna get the mage weakness taken care of right there. But even mute arrows, even not only do they cover that weakness, at this point it's the second strongest arrow that we have access to.
Right. We have zilch right behind, having just finished the Water Hag.
All right, 1 comet should get the job done here on D-Mist, although that was a little less than I was expecting.
I think it's like a 400 HP boss spot here, so that's plenty.
One big deal, Palom did learn Virus in that fight, so Yang in this spot is first of all, again, is this even? Secondly, this can be one of the trickier spots, because while it is slow, it hits really hard, and Yang is gonna probably one-shot, as poor Edward just found out, any character he found. And then he's going to kick you, and that kick is still probably going to do around 100-ish, 75 damage, which with our HP totals being what they were, it's quite a bit. But I think with enough slows on here, your goal is to just get 3 casts of Virus and you're good.
Right, got 2,500 damage on him already. I think 1 more Virus ought to do the job. If not, it'll be very close, and we should be able to get through it. Just hanging on there, I think.
Oh, it's gonna... Okay, got the job done.
So that gets us Iridia into our already very mage-heavy party. And, well, there's the other half of the Excalibur. Unfortunately, it's just a really nice, pretty sword. Not very useful.
Zima Zone 2 players called. They want their seed back. We can forge already. We just need access to the underground. So if we find a Cecil, almost certainly guaranteed that we're going to pick him up. But no real progression here other than being a shiny rock and access to an eccentric blacksmith shop. So it looks like we're going to head into Baron Castle.
We do have black belts in the locked shop here in Baron, which is decent armor if you're looking for extra melee damage, but right now it's not very useful.
Yeah, get used to seeing that shop checked, because with when we hit bracket flags, gated shops become just as important for weapons, as that's the only place you're going to find cursor rings. So it's good on it. Oh, well, maybe we don't need to go into Baron Castle, because Rydia's bomb has got it going on.
That's the magma key. That's underground access. I'm sure our runners are very happy that they don't have to deal with hook bosses right now.
Yep, that is definitely a missed opportunity for a good hook boss there. So let's hope we get some nastiness a little later on. Now, I do wonder, is Antidale still going to check the Baron spot, or maybe get the 2 freebies out of the way? Because our party isn't totally, super powerful, even with Rydia. You might want to get the 2 freebies out of the way, hope that you get something that gives you a key item.
Yeah.
But as PK points out in chat, the first fight in Baron Castle is free.
It was the King Queen Ebla, correct? It was first fight, so and you'll get another character. It's a decent call right there, I would say.
So Antidale's going to round out his shopping and check out Kaipo, see who the character is there, finds a sleeping Lunarian. Boy, would we love to have you in our party immediately. But alas, we need the Sand Ruby for that. Probably, my guess would be, if it was me, I would head immediately underground and look for damn sirens.
Yes, definitely. Try to, like we said before, trying to get Palom up to that Quake level would be very nice right now. Also get your free item in Feymarch, excuse me, and maybe also hit the Sylph Cave and see what Sheila 1 has for us. A couple of extra free key items that are now available for us to check.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting decision when we get there. I know Zilch likes to kind of put off Fabul checks and try to get them all done in one go, but if we don't find sirens, the party's strength or lack thereof may kind of necessitate getting any key items where we can. Antidale looks like is not going to actually open up the path to the underground. It is going to head into Baron. Oh, or maybe just checking out the shop.
A little more shopping on his side, looks like. Meanwhile, Zilch is dealing with the karate man over there, and doesn't look like he got virus yet, which is making this fight a lot harder on his side.
Ooh, doesn't have virus and doesn't have a third character, so it means one character is going to be kind of out of action, and then the other character is going to be chucking a life potion. He'll get through this, but it's going to take quite a while, and it's going to give Antidale time to probably get up to the King Queen Eblon fight, if not even just getting past that fight altogether.
And when you look at the difference between where these two runners are right now, it's basically all about, because Antidale was able to get Edward off of Hobbs. Even though we always say joke, oh, what can Edward do for us? It's a third person. It's a third person throwing life spells or cures, or even just throwing out shooting some arrows, and that will add up over the course of several boss fights.
Yeah, I mean, having the third character, super useful. That that extra 5k was, as mentioned in chat, pushed it to virus. So yeah, it's a little bit of an edge here. I'd say Antidale, at least as far as content goes.
Edge yet. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Don't worry about that. So we're gonna see the first fight's kind of free. Now the second, I'm a little concerned going into the second fight, in that the magic defense in the Baron throne spot is actually pretty good. Now Virus kind of tends to not care about that, but it's not going to do the 1200, 1300 that you're expecting it to. Rydia's she's going to benefit by being able to be rezzed while the bosses are talking to you, but Antidale may not even let it get that far.
I'm wondering, since he chose to take out Rydia right at the start of the fight, if he's thinking about maybe some sort of slingshot once we do get to a place where we can grind us some levels.
It's not a bad idea. Generally, when you have a super low agility anchor, in this case, Viridia just being level 1, you kind of want to pair it with a character that's Berserk to really take advantage of the relative agility 1. You still get a little bit of an advantage if you're mostly slinging spells at the person, but we only have one character who's kind of utilizing that. So I don't think we're going to see RA1 stuff yet. Of note that Antidale decided to not actually go through the cutscene. If you just sit there and wait, you're looking at about a minute 20, a minute 30 on the King Queen Eblon fight. But if you can get the king down, the queen will peace out on the next turn. And if you can get it done within a minute, you're saving some time there. And oh no!
Ooh. That's not someone you want to see right now.
This might be a reset. If you can get the virus off quickly enough, okay. I don't think this is going to connect. I don't believe it blends here.
No, I think this is one of those spots where you cannot target her with spells if she's in her spinning phase, and sure enough, Antidale pieces out.
Yeah, its magic defense is good enough as it is already among the higher end of bosses, but add the spinning. I mean, put out your tornadoes and bikinis in chat, because that's Valvalis 1, our runner 0.
Yeah, all I can say from the first half hour of watching the season, I'm glad I'm watching it and not playing it, because I'd probably be tearing out my hair.
Yeah, that one's a bummer, but at least it wasn't behind. It's something we can come back to, right? And if you get a reset, you're thinking, all right, bummer, I took a reset and I lost 4 minutes. Chances are, given where this scene has kind of taken us, the other runner is going to come into that fight as well. And you know everything that's available at that point in time. Not much you're really going to be able to do about it. Even if we had sirened up Edward, Palom, and Porum, that's still a really difficult fight to deal with.
I'm going to feel sorry for Zilch right now, because he just got to the level on Palom where he just got virus. So I was thinking, okay, finally I've got a decent source of damage in my party right now. He's going to walk up, see how balance, and have to reset.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a downer. Let's see what the Tomer shop. Oh, it's just Odin. Okay, now is Antidale going to make his seed valid?
That is the big question. Can we get a job dwarf?
You generally want to loot this anyway, because it's a mining something operator. You generally want to loot this anyway because all the goodies that are under the gated shops are super expensive. So you can see, there's a tiara there. Tiara is great for Iridia, but it's 20k.
Still looking for those curse runes. I don't think we found any, which does make me think maybe he is planning on just dragging Iridia along at level 1 for the rest of the game as your agility anchor.
Well, passing on the tiara definitely lends credence to that, because if you're planning on getting use out of that tiara, it's her best helmet. Great magic defense, and it's a plus. I think it's actually a plus 10 to wisdom. Chat can correct me if I'm wrong.
And yeah, as expected, Zilch just can't find the damage to get through to the Valvalis in her spinning form, and has to take a reset.
All right. Well, the freebie in the whatchamacallit, Feymarch place of summoned places has a Luca key, which not something we're going to want to check, but more importantly, the shop has sirens. So I'm pretty sure we can get that dragon dealt with. We have stop and we have virus, so I suspect we're going to see buy them sirens, check the bosses just to get the information there, and then get Palom to Quake.
Yeah, absolutely. That seems to be a very, very solid play at this point. We still haven't found any of the 3 bosses we were looking for, so if we find any of them down here, I have to probably put that in the back of our memory and think about doing them later, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case.
Oh, we can. Oh man, we only hope that Gauntlet at Leviathan spot is required. Shout outs to peasants wherever you are. Always seems to draw the required Gauntlet seeds. but we don't really have like we have sirens, so you know we can get levels kind of at will. But there's not a lot of great options here. We have Dwarf Castle, which is 8k HP, which Quake will help deal with that, but it's gonna still one punch our entire party more or less, unless we decide to grind up to like level 30 or something. There's Keyless Tower, which is 20k experience. We thought AK was bad. Here we go. Those Fey March fights, which ew, and Valvalis at Baron. Ooh, there's not a lot of good options here.
I'm thinking Sheila 1. Hopefully, please save me.
This would be a case where I would definitely consider saying, all right, I'm gonna triple dip Fabul if that's what it takes. Give me something else that's a little nicer, like maybe a Darkness Crystal Tella. That would be nice.
Yes, Sweater Hag was already found up in Ordeal, so we knew that was the Gauntlet.
Antidale taking a little bit of a risk by not casting Stop on the dragon, and Virus coming up about 150 HP short. Womp womp. But is just going to do it again.
One of these will have to work, I'm sure.
You could also cast Bluff if you don't want to use MP on Stop. That will work too.
I believe he already bluffed once in the previous fight, so I'll probably do it 2 or 3 times this time, and
I'll
take care of it.
Okay, yep. Bluff gives you a boost of 15 wisdom, and it stays there for pretty much the entire fight, unless you decide to change a weapon. So, yeah, that 2 of them did the job at 1800, and that one is all it's going to take, because now he's got Quake. Quake is going to deal with it pretty much every egg he ever wanted.
Yes, that break point there when you get Quake just increases the power of your party so much. One thing I just thought about is that we do have the ingredients to make the Excalibur, which you'd think wouldn't be very useful right now, but it does open up that shop at the smithy as well. Do you think it might be worthwhile to take a look there as well?
Not at this point, only because we just came across sirens, and that's kind of an item that our runners are likely to break the bank on and empty out their wallets and say, give me all your sirens. And that's not going to leave a lot of money for anything that's really good at the shop. Yeah, we can find Stardust Rods, but they're 60k. That's pretty expensive. So let's see. It looks like you do... Oh, we got a required fight.
Well, that's one off the list. I'm sure we're finally very happy to finally get one of them.
So this is great. This is a great boss to find here for a couple of reasons. One, it's required. 2, you don't really have to worry about physical attack, and that's kind of the big threat here. 3 is that some of the HP is spread out amongst all the separate targets, and we've got a pretty good AoE in Quake. So this is a nice find, and Antidale not going too hard on the grinding and going immediately to Dwarf Castle is gonna pay off.
Absolutely, and that's a lot of damage right there. Yes.
Now we'll see who the 5th character is here. I'm sure our runners would love to see Cecil saunter in with a silver staff in hand and just be, hey, I got something for you. Check out this Excal.
And we have the rare Edward Berserk strats going on there. Unfortunately, can't keep it up too long.
And you can see, like, even with a white shirt, Porum was taking 200 something damage, and we don't have a lot of HP, even though we're in the mid-20s. Zilch is going to do us a favor, and good call here. Check to see which boss it is at the Asura spot. Not that it's a boss that we're going to be able to deal with, and D-Lunars absolutely not, but it's good to know that you're not looking at Ogo, which is something you're going to say, oh no, I'm going to go to the moon. Whereas D-Lunars, if you can deal with the physical attack, and the Asura spot hits hard, but not super hard, I won't say it's free, but it's totally doable.
No, especially because that spot doesn't have the most hit points to begin with, and especially when you divide up against the 2 of them. I think it's going to be about maybe 11,000 hit points per. It's definitely doable.
Oh no, we've seen a lot of moon bosses here. This could be our good friend. Oh, it's the second fight wyvern. Is he fast enough? No, he is not.
Ah.
You hate/love to see it happen. Wyvern being in a second boss spot, so not only do you have to do the Wyvern fight again, you have to watch Milan dance on your screen again. Bummer.
This is a nasty, nasty seed. First, we had Val, second spot in Baron. Now we've got Wyvern in the second spot here in Dwarf. This is just not our runner's friends tonight.
Now, Antidale's going to actually have a little bit of an advantage. I did ramble on about how you kind of don't do to take advantage. There are a few exceptions to that, and this is one of them. He's going to have no problem getting Palom to RA1 and putting up a Star Veil after this fight. I don't know if he lowered his battle speed. I know it's kind of a little mentally difficult to do so when you're in a fight that's going to have as many turns as this Milan fight is going to have because he has so many counters. But he's going to be at RA1 and he's going to be able to deal with that quite easily. And I really like the idea of bluffing beforehand.
Yes. Try to get this fight clean as possible to get as much damage out on those quakes.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Chat let me know he did lower the battle speed. It should not be a problem the second time. Zilch, on the other hand, does not have a way to get to RA1 at all. And while the spot in the Golbez spot isn't super fast, it's faster than these three mages are going to be. So Zilch is going to be in a little bit of trouble here, I think.
I did notice that they did have to cast stop on the egg to make sure they can get through this, and just trying to put out as much damage as possible. I mean, as you can see, it's going to take a while to get through that egg.
Yeah, the saving grace for Zilch, if he decides to go in there, is going to be that the magic spot in Golbez is amongst the worst in the game. And it's entirely possible that Mega Nuke can actually miss. You might not expect a spell that is microwaving your entire party to miss somehow, but it does. And this is one of the spots where it kind of happens. Antidale's going to get his revenge right here.
Yes. I think he's made the proper adjustments to be able to take this boss down and finally get his fifth member to his party, and hopefully see a substantial key item that he can use to progress through this seed.
Interestingly enough, with the magic being as low as it is, like a 2 or 3 person party, it is very likely that I don't think this Mega Nuke is going to actually kill her. Oh, it's a little short, but you can see it missed Edward. Apparently, bards can dodge Mega Nukes. Who knew?
It's one of their special abilities.
And then that was a little risky because you're at RA1, so that boss is super fast. So if you would have gotten, quite unfortunate, but no big deal. Gets Wyvern down, gets a cane, which, hey, physical attacks, how are you doing? And we'll see what the key item is.
Meanwhile, Zilch has successfully cracked a couple of eggs, now has a decent number of levels on his Palom, and is going to be heading over maybe also to do the Dwarf Castle check.
Yeah, there's still not a lot of great options right now, but with Kane in hand, Val is significantly less scary. It's still an investment of about 3 to 4. Oh well, never mind. We got the pan. We know what we're doing next.
Oh, that's 3 key item checks. That's a objective. That's a very clear direction as to where to go. Finally.
Yeah, so we're gonna get the pan. Probably get at least item there. I wouldn't be surprised to see Antidale going and burn 1 siren just to get Kane online, especially given that with the way the experience works here, if there's a character that is 5 levels below the median character, which would be your 3rd highest experience, they're going to get double. And for that reason, when the character who just joins your party, you want their first dose of experience to be the highest you can get it to be. And at this point in time, the 34k from that egg is going to be the highest you can get.
Now, I don't think we've picked up any really good equipment for Kane. I think we may have had like maybe an ice brand sword as the top, if I'm not mistaken.
I think there was an ogre axe early, if I remember right. I do see a bandana. Not terrible, but yeah, we haven't seen. Cecil would be the fighter we'd like to get, but at this point, having seen Val doing Val things, getting a Kane is, I wouldn't be upset at that. And first key item spot is not actually a key item; it's a life staff. It is the white mage stat stick, so plus 15 to willpower. It is more or less the best white mage weapon in the game, so Porum is like decked out in some pretty serious gear at this point.
Absolutely, that's something you always like to see your white mages carry. Oh, and hey, welcome to the party of 58 coming on Free Enterprise. You're in time for what is shaping up to be a rather evil seed.
Now, Antidale kind of scrolled through that pretty fast. I think that was the tower key.
Yes, the tower key.
All right, so that kind of gives us a little bit more direction here. I think just given the amount of time and cutscenes Baron Key takes, that we're not necessarily going to go to the Baron or back to Baron. I kind of think we're going to see a tower key here, but again, we don't have great or super efficient checks even after doing the pan. Now the pan was required, so we got 2 objectives down. We're still missing a lot of bosses here, and if you're going to do that tower key and take on the 20k-ish hit points you got to deal with, got to get Kin online.
And it looks like he's going to do exactly that by pulling up an egg and quaking it down.
Now, Zilch's Sylph is going to put in a little more work since he actually found the Sylph summon, which is pretty useful to find. It does, like a little less damage than a virus. Unfortunately, the animation is longer than an ad break, so if you end up relying on it too much, your boss fight times can kind of balloon up to 2 or 3 minutes. But it's gonna be nice for here. But the real surprise is gonna be what's waiting for Zilch after this, and he's got to hope to have some excellent dodging mages here.
Meanwhile, Dale is going to go ahead and take out the 2 key item checks in the tower. Makes perfect sense at this point. I think he's got the power to deal with the bosses up here, especially the first boss, because that boss really has no power. But even at the top of the tower, I think he's got what he needs.
Yeah, there's a couple of bosses that can be pretty timely up here, but by and large, he's in pretty good shape. And Zilch finds the required Vern, and he does not miss this time.
Oh, not having fun tonight.
I do wonder at what point, we've come across 2 bosses that have basically said, nah, dog, you're going to take a reset. At what point does that kind of get in the runners' heads and be like, I must be so far behind. How did that happen to me? I
mean, on the one hand, anytime that you feel like you're just struggling with a certain part of the seed, obviously it does weigh on your mind a lot. But on the other hand, you got to think, my opponent's got to do the exact same things that I'm doing. Entirely possible that he's got exactly the same problems that I have.
I think for the first fight, that absolutely is true. I think if you might have thought if you had an Edward here, and Edward has his issues, but speed and agility is not one of them. And if your opponent picked up the Edward and decided to not do the Rydia, they might get past that. So I'd be a little worried. Finding Octomam on the top of the tower is good and bad. It's good because it has a lit weakness and we can absolutely exploit it. It's bad because most of its damage is going to be done through physical attacks, and to start the fight, it's going to be fast.
Yes, the start of the fight. If you can get a few of those tentacles down to the point where it starts slowing down, you know you can have this one taken care of.
And the issue I think he's going to run into is kind of like the side effect of going with RA1 is that the boss is fast too. But I think with Kane, I was a little worried because I saw Kane take like 500 damage to a hit. It's like, it could be a problem. But once you get, like you said, the first couple tentacles down, we're in good shape. And after that, then this fight becomes relatively quick for a boss spot here.
Meanwhile, Zilch is going to go ahead and try this Dwarf Castle fight again. I saw he did take down his battle speed as well, so hopefully he'll be able to squeeze this out once the Wyvern rears its ugly head again.
Now, I think what Zilch might be banking on here is that Kane's starting agility at level 10, because you'll notice he left the middle spot open. When a character joins, they're going to take the highest priority spot that is left. So if you leave the middle spot empty, that's where he's going to go. He might be kind of hoping that Kane's starting agility is low enough that maybe Palom, or Porum, I'm sorry, can get a Star Veil off as she's the faster twin. I don't it's not gonna be enough for RA1, but it might be enough to get him through here. Yeah, I figured his starting agility was somewhere around.
Meanwhile, Antidale does have a few of those tentacles down on the Octomam, so hopefully we won't be seeing too many more of those surprisingly high damage rolls being thrown out there.
Yeah, 300 to 400 is kind of serious with the HP totals being what they are now. Porum rocking the white shirt in the back row is not going to take a lot, and that's kind of your lifeline here with your healing going. And Porum getting excellent damage out of the Lit 2, so it's probably taking longer than he'd like, and at this point might be thinking maybe I should have done one more Siren. Of course, as I say that, Porum hits critical HP. And did we get... I'm noticing that Kane is not taking any turns. This could be a problem.
Oh dear.
So if you cast a Berserk on a character immediately after resing them, some unfortunate can happen. And this would be one of them.
Sometimes the side effects don't play nice with each other in this game, so you get the situation where characters should be moving, but they ain't. But yeah. And with the amount of damage that Palom is throwing out those Lit 2s, should still be able to get through this fight.
Yeah, I think having whether or not he's going to complete this fight isn't the problem. He's probably more upset that he added an extra 2.5, 3 minutes to the fight while Kane's deciding to play Pokemon Go while there's an Octomam standing right in front of him.
Well, good news, bad news. Bad news is wasn't able to get a Star Veil out, but good news is Palom did dodge it, so that's the one character you'd like to see this, because one quick later, no more Wyvern.
Yep, got a little lucky there, but it happened to Antidale on try number 2 as well, so there you go. Antidale still has a little bit of a lead, I think.
Yep. See what waits as for key items. A Twin Harp. Music possibly required?
It's a tough call. We don't have a lot of great options left. Well, we gotta see what the Tower Key gives us first. Since we're still missing 2 bosses, you kind of want to prioritize maybe the amount of bosses you can find, and Twin Heart being a roughly 4-minute check or so, plus or minus your party strength. And then to top that off, it's a spot where magic isn't really going to help you because its magic defense is like 254 or something like that. So it's going to be a little bit of an expensive check as far as time goes. And it's only one boss, so it's not super efficient. But we just hit the hat trick of, is this even?
One virus clears them out as you might expect. So like I think a stiff breeze takes out this boss spot.
Yeah, then that is our third non-randomized boss. Oh boy. And we'll see what the tower key gives us. I'm sure Antidale is hoping for any kind of direction other than music. Because other than that, I think we just have Feymarch bosses, right?
Luca key. We can go down the steel cave if you're looking for punishment.
That's right. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Luca key check before Twin Harp. Although Antidale's Rydia does not have. He's been keeping her at level 1. So one of the nice things about Rydia, she learns Warp super early. Palom doesn't get it until I believe level 30, and I don't think we're there yet.
We also could go back now that we have Kane and take care of Val at the Baron Castle. We get another key item, but again, that's a pretty decent long walk to get through there.
Yeah, it's a long walk. It's a cutscene, and we know the boss is there, and that the bosses are not required. So, kind of theme of the seed has been no good options, and Pinktail doesn't really help us right now.
Well, that's 2 for 2 on tails and 0 for 1 on hooks. So let's be sitting in the inventory for a while.
Antidale is going to go ahead and forge, as you had mentioned earlier, to possibly check the shop to find some goodies here. There can be, white robes, sorcerer robes, stardust rods, maybe even a good spear for Kane or a defense sword would be nice.
Especially once we get into the brackets phases, there's also going to be a very interesting shop to go to because I think it's the only place you would ever find things like sirens or hourglasses for sale as well.
Well, our runners are going to wish they checked this a whole lot earlier because there be Artemis arrows here, and that would have made grinding on the eggs significantly faster.
Also, I believe picks up a power shirt.
Yeah, at this point, power shirts superb, plus 15 to strength. Crystal ring wouldn't necessarily be bad if you've tried to hit that magic 28 agility for Zeramus and you have a whole bunch of mages in your party that always seem to be sitting at like 23, 24 agility. That crystal ring can kind of push them over the edge and is, great magic defense and whatnot to boot. And it looks like Antidale is going to have his revenge on Val.
Well, at this point is probably definitely the easiest spot, at least in terms of boss power right now in the game. And so, figure if you can blitz through the first boss is free no matter what because it was the King Queen Eblin, but if you can blitz through Val, you get another person, you get another key item. I think it's a fairly decent play.
And we will be able to check the Odin spot, which is one more boss that we don't know. I don't think our team is going to be able to actually defeat whoever's at the Odin spot, particularly if it is one of our 2 required fights, which would be Vanilla number 4 or the Dirty, Rotten, Cheating Evil Wall. So neither of those. It would be nice to have the information, and I think with all the bosses, you're going to go ahead and save and check it out. But I think you're going to kind of come back to it later, at least as far as knocking it out to get that key item check.
Yes, definitely. It's not something you want to prioritize unless maybe it's a free boss and absolutely great, grab it, but probably not be able to beat it at this point.
Would still like to see Cecil here. I don't think that changes whether or not you hit up Odin spot. The one character that would do that is taking a nap in Kaipo. So unless Fu is the duplicate character and he's here, not necessarily going to see him sitting at Baron.
You could get the Sand Ruby as the key item as well. That would be a nice grab.
That would be fantastic for the runners. In fact, that might be the key item they want to see right now.
So the upgrade from Edward to Fu might be the biggest upgrade in the game.
Yeah, or in Zilch's case, from no one at all, because he didn't take Edward.
That is true.
And sometimes you like to have that Edward on the bench anyway, just to kind of know if the seed dictates it to where you need to necessarily pull out Edward for one of his more gimmicky fights, knowing you have him available is there. Although for a lot of his gimmicks, you might need to have RA1 strats, and we haven't seen a curse ring in the shop. But Zilch is going to take the same idea, head into Baron. They're both going to get their revenge on Val, and this fight is not going to go as well for Val as it did the first time.
No, this is going to be over fairly quickly as soon as Kane can get in the air and we can get the jumps off. And, well, if Palin can get back up on the Antidale side.
Well, this is one reason why you don't necessarily have RA1 strats on a boss that you are inherently already stronger than. You've just made Val super fast, and poor Palom didn't get a chance to even blink before she cast a weak and a physical attack combo platter on it.
I mean, the good news is that her physical attacks right now are not doing much damage at all, so one good spell out, it came back in the air. Ooh, wow, that is so fast.
Yeah, so like you're gonna get weak and might even get a physical attack before Kane can get in the air. Zilch, on the other hand, should have significantly easier time here.
Yeah, it's one of those things when you're running this game is that you get down to the underground, you start facing those bosses that the RA1 strats can be so powerful. Then you come back to a spot you may have skipped over earlier, a spot that doesn't have such strong inherent strength, and you forget that I don't need this to have the anchor available anymore. I can switch it up, and sometimes you wind up making one of these early bosses just so much more difficult to deal with.
I think at this point, Antidale might be better off berserking Kane and going that way, because it doesn't seem like he can get an attack off before she spins, before she goes back to spinny mode. Blink's gonna help though.
That'll keep you upright, and that does do enough to have the shakes on both the screens. So we'll soon see the person available as well as the key item.
I think at this point a kamikaze might not be a bad idea with Kane. Kane's sitting at 1100 HP, and you'll at least avoid the crumble skip doing that way. But looks like oh wow, look at that timing. They're crumbling at the same time.
And it's a Tella. That's an interesting dilemma with all the other mages in this party. Looks like Antidale is going to keep Tella around in lieu of Edward, though.
I think both runners are going to... Well, Zilch doesn't really have a choice.
Right.
But this does bring the question whenever Tella shows up. Well, we haven't found the Darkness Crystal, so it's putting the cart before the whale, so to speak. But having a D-Machine grind will make this party super strong, because you have two sources of nuke and a source of white. Like, that's pretty good. Mages definitely benefit quite a bit. But on the other hand, you may not want to do that because you're an hour into the seed, and you have sirens available. And we're getting pretty close to 10 key items here.
I think we do have it on Antidale, so I think that was number 11. And we got the hook, which means we can trade in those tails, which means we can look at the person waiting for us in the cave, as well as do a quick check on the boss, the second boss. When we do see that person, we do see a Stardust Rod on Zilch's side. That's very nice considering this party configuration.
I wouldn't be opposed to, especially since I think Antidale bought a whole bunch of sirens. If you got them at this point in time, you can get your characters up. Even up to nuke. I wouldn't hate it. I would totally understand the way this has gone so far.
And located in Ablin Cave, we do have Hourglasses and Bacchus Wines, which are two very nice items to have.
Yeah, Bacchai not going to get quite as much from this party, but we still have quite a ways to go. It's entirely possible we find Cecil as the moon character, so get a few of those, but it's not break the bank, so to speak. Hourglasses, you're going to want at least 5 or so. Gold dragons plus a slingshot plus 10 key items is generally money, and we're going to check to see who the hook character is and possibly the King Queen Eblon spot boss, because we're still missing 2 bosses here.
It's a Sid and it's a Mom Bomb. Mom Bomb's not what we need. This is an interesting place to find Sid, because even though you are pretty short on a melee character still, I don't know if you really want to Sid now.
I wouldn't take him.
Yeah,
but we'll see. We'll see. I could see the case for doing it, but I think unless we see another Fu, Cecil, Rosa, maybe an Edge. Otherwise, I think we're kind of good here. I would wonder whether or not the runners are going to actually check the King Queen Eblon spot, and we're going to get our answer.
Going to do that, yes. I think at this point, it's worth a look, especially because and run up there, take a look at it, and if not, you can reset, load up that save, and warp right back out or exit right back out with Tella.
It's tough to say. 20, you're still looking at like a 45-second to a little over a minute investment. What is essentially one boss check? We don't have a lot of spots left, so Darkness Crystal's coming up, and that's 6 bosses right there. 8 if you include the giant. So, by spending that amount of time on one boss is a little dicey, but I totally understand, like, going in there and you have it available to you. If it happens to be there and it's the last thing you do, you're looking at like a 2-hour scene. We see it's the Dark Elf, so we're just going to reset out and ta-ta for now.
Yeah, but at least that's one more spot off the runner's mind. You cross that one off. You don't have that one hanging over like maybe it's there. Maybe my opponent went there and that's the swing that my opponent needs to get back in front.
So at this point, we're looking at music, Luca Key, and the Feymarch bosses. Zilch didn't really get any additional direction from the Rat Tail, so in fact, I believe it just had a Stardust Rod, which, while great for this party, not going to tell us anywhere to go. Definitely not the Darkest Crystal that I think the runners would like to see at this point. So we'll see. I can see the case for using a bunch of your sirens, and the Gauntlet at Leviathan isn't too bad. And hey, an Avenger will help.
Yeah, the Gauntlet's definitely doable. Luki, not the worst case right now. You can walk down there, you can see what the key item is, and then take a look at the boss. And if neither of them really suit you, then you can just reset out. But it does look like Antidale is going to give us a music check.
There you go, hero of the people. Zilch, I know, will sometimes try it. Not a huge fan of the tower, but I think that seems to be the efficiency play here. So is going to make that. It's going to give Antidale a little bit more time, since Antidale has already done this and knows he's just getting the pink tail and the harp, which he's taking care of right now.
Be interesting to see if the fact that Zilch didn't have the pink tail and thus didn't get the Avenger will make a difference in terms of his strategy. Because I don't know if he's ever going to want to go back to trade that in, because in fact it's just going to be a piece of equipment.
Yeah, that's a good point. He probably isn't going to go back to see it. Granted, we don't have a lot of good options for Kayn, and that Avenger is going to save a little bit of time, just cumulatively, from not having to cast cast Zerk on him all the time. But seeing that D Lunas is there and having picked up Tella, who can be a suitable anchor here, and can also cast Blink, and if you have illusions there, that helps too. Like, D Lunas at Ashura is now totally on the table.
And I think we're going to take just a little bit of break here as we're going to listen to what lovely music Edward has prepared for us tonight.
Something from Crisis Core, I hope. Well, it's time to bite the hand that feeds you, because we just got the Otherworld theme from Final Fantasy X. And Asura is the boss fight here, which, had we a Rune Axe or a Mute Dagger, gets a lot easier. But I don't think we have that at this point.
No, but we do have enough power here that as soon as we get a wall up on Asura, maybe we need to. That's because I think about it, the magic defense here is usually so big that it can cause a problem.
Oh, let me fix my face. I see a Rune Axe there. There you go. Okay, so this
there you go. Good.
piece of cake here, Kane is going to jump and do cataclysmic damage to Asura, probably in the neighborhood of 3 to 4k.
Yeah, we see Quake just doing the 1 damage there, so we are going to have to rely entirely on Quake here. With a damage of 7,000,
I was way off.
That's going to be a problem.
It was actually kind of funny to see Asura's magic defense be so strong that she resisted the heal of Cure 3 and only healed herself for 1 damage. But the resulting item is a package, which, oh boy, could we get a required boss at the package spot, and do our runners actually invest the time into checking it out?
Well, who do we have left to find in terms of characters? Cecil, Edge.
Yeah, we got Cecil,
Yang.
Edge, the duplicate, Yang, and Rosa.
I mean, as right now, unless it's like the duplicate Fu or Cecil, I don't know what you're going to want to add to your party. We're going to spend the time to increase them. So at least in terms of a character check, I'm not sure if it's too much of a value, but he is looks like he's going to turn it in. And also, I don't know if he's checked the demist spot either, so he might do that as well.
Yeah, that's the first thing he's checking out right now. Zilch wraps up the Luge spot fight and is going to leave the tower. Got his harp, and we'll see if he decides to follow up on that music.
And no, Antidale just says no, don't even want to check the package right now. Looks like he might be looking at the Odin spot, or Odin spot, because he's parking at Baron.
Yeah, I don't even think he checked the character per se, which, you know, at an hour 8, you don't necessarily 3 minutes to check a character, but the one character that could probably swing your time enough to justify that would be Cecil, because we have an Excal.
Instead, opting for the Odin check as clear dark imps in cannon room. And I think, yeah, that's...
Oh no.
That's the last of the Lunar Sparkles, I think. I think we've found every other one of them.
Our Canadian friend is here to greet us at the Odin spot with a whole lot of waves and the appropriate reset response. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be going back there anytime soon.
The good news, it's not one of the bosses we need to find, but could hold the key item that does hide one of those required bosses, unfortunately.
We have gotten some pretty nasty bosses here, and now that we've done music, I think Luca Key's kind of next up on the check. If you're feeling confident about your ability to deal with D-Lunars at Asura, it's probably not time efficient, but you can get two key item spots checked from there. At this point, I think we just want the Darkness Crystal and get out of town.
Yes, I mean at this point I think that's what we need. Antidale is opting to do grinding right now. He's got the 10 key items that should go quite quickly.
And missing 2 spots, I'm curious to see, or missing 2 bosses, I'm curious to see if our runners decide to not do the Luca key in the event we get a darkness crystal from another spot, because that could add an extra 30-40 minutes if that's the last thing you check.
Yes.
All right, so Annadele's going to check our Luca key for us. Zilch is going to go ahead and forge, get an X-Cal that he can't use, but is going to find Power Shirt, Crystal Ring, and Artemis Arrows, and I think we're going to see at least one of those bought from the shop.
Question in chat. Yes, why not bring up Rydia? Antidale wants to keep Rydia as low level as possible because that way she'll have as low agility as possible, and that will make the rest of the team so much faster against these more advanced bosses.
Yeah, agility is kind of a weird topic when it comes to Final Fantasy. Best way I can explain that is that when the game is calculating how fast it's going to go, the end result is how many ticks does it take before your ATB bar fills up. If you played like FF4FE, you know that thing is filling up, and how many ticks does that take? So the fastest you could possibly be would be 1 tick, right? So the way the game figures out everybody's tick is they take the character in the middle spot, which is referred to as the anchor, and they say how much faster or slower are you than that character. So if you have a character that is super slow in the middle spot, now everybody else is as fast as you can be, which is 1 tick. So that means your entire party, the rest of your party is 1 tick, and the boss is 1 tick. So that means if you come up against a spot, like for example, this evil wall spot in vanilla is one of the fastest spots in the game. And if you come across someone like Golbez, not even going to give you a chance to act, that can be a bummer. So having a character that's level 1 sitting there at a super low agility, now the rest of your party is as fast as the boss is. The downside is that because everyone is so fast, you have to be really quick at entering your commands. And we see the darkness crystal, so hey, looks like this is going to be required. Is it Golbez? No, it's Rubicon, who can be a bummer here too when he's fast.
Oh yeah, so there's trying to time out the ice cast. The ice only when he's got his robe open. It can be difficult in this kind of situation.
Yep, and Ice 3 is a pretty slow cast time. Palom didn't even get a chance to begin the incantation before that closed. And in addition to being super fast, this spot also has one of the highest magic attack in the game. So if you just think, oh, I'll just berserk with Kain, you're going to eat about 300 or so damage per fire 2 counter. So this is one of the bosses you kind of don't want to see here unless you have like a blizzard spear or an ice brand.
Now I have to ask, did he save before doing this? I don't remember, because this is sometimes the spot where people don't save, just sort of run around that save spot on the way in.
I'm pretty sure he did, and you saw how much, Kain. Yeah, okay, he did save. Kain was only taking like 190 or so damage because he's got Dragoon gear, so that kind of helps deal with the elements. But the wizards don't have that kind of luxury, so they were taking around 400 a pop. And you're considering you're berserked, and he's already super fast as it is, with Rydia being level 1, you're not going to be able to keep up with that damage. So this is going to require a little bit different planning from Annadale here.
Meanwhile, Zilch is grinding up the eggs as well. He's got 10 key items, so this 68,000 experience pop, and he's choosing to keep Tella as his anchor.
And this is good news for Zilch, because seeing him grind as much as he tells me that he's not going to go to the Twin Heart, and he's instead going to take on a boss fight of that he would need to actually grind to get up. So that kind of is almost leading me to believe that he's going to go to the Feymarch, and is also showing off how awesome Artemis arrows are against any kind of dragon enemy, as Rydia is doing 3K with a bow and arrow strike, and she ain't no Robin Hood, but she's doing damage there.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where Rubicon is so fast. You're probably better off, rather than trying to time out the ice spells, just doing those really strong non-elemental spells and just trying to hit them down this way.
Yeah, I think Quake is the answer here for sure, and rely on that. If you can time an Ice 3 and it, reward is huge. 10k damage, that's quite a bit. If you can land 2 of them, that's awesome. But you're going to be spending a lot of time getting your party members rezzed from that glare. Physical attack in this spot isn't too bad. It's vanilla evil wall, and in the vanilla game, your party is usually around high 30s or so it's not that threatening, although he thwacks Palom for 500 just to let me see. And yeah, it looks like Zilch is going to head to the Fey March. He did actually peek and see which lunar boss it is, although Antidale has that information now by virtue of seeing every other lunar boss that we've found on here. And is probably going to take on the Asuras first.
And yeah, Antidale gets that second ice out and is able to get through that Rubicon and take that Darkest Crystal to the bank.
All right, so this is a pretty big deal for Antidale here. He knows he's missed 2 bosses and has a required objective in the Vanilla Crystal Sword. Since you know what the bosses are in the Fey March, the only way not doing the Fey March is going to burn you is if it has a key item spot that it leads to another boss. Chances of that are actually not terribly high, so I would not be surprised here to see Antidale head immediately to the moon.
I think the only key item that he's missing that would lead to more boss checks would be the Earth Crystal.
Yep, and that would be 2 of them. And you got the package now. If you've done enough async races with Antidale, you'll know that he is famous for one particular move, and that is an early giant. I do wonder if he warms my heart and checks the giant boss first. Oh, looks like he's gonna head to the Eblanche. Oh, pick up hourglasses and Buckeye for sure.
Absolutely. At this point, that's a very nice pickup for him.
Well, going to grab hourglasses tells me that he's going to do a couple gold dragon fights, which makes me a little sad because it means he's probably not going to check the giant boss first. Although, maybe I'm wrong and he's picking up some armor. There were strengthenings there. Yeah, that might be pretty good for Kane. Oh, didn't buy any items. Okay, maybe he hadn't checked that shop when he checked the character.
I was wondering what he was looking for there, because I don't think he really feels like he needs the cursed ring now, because he's been carrying around that level 1 Rydia for seems like 2/3 of the game at this point.
Yeah, PK might have the right idea. If he's planning on doing a D machine, do you want to have ethers for that? Tella's MP at 90 is not great, and did Zilch go into the Fey March and then peace out and head into the Luca Cave? Which, could end up being a superb play at this point.
Absolutely. I think he'll be very happy to find the Dark Crystal he's been looking for in there.
And Zilch did a lot more grinding, so I don't think you're going to see any issue with Rubicant here. Unless... Well, he has the pink tail, but he didn't go back and grab it. So having the Avenger on Kane for this particular fight would just be very, very tragic.
Oh, absolutely. You don't want to have to keep eating those fire 2 reactions every melee hit.
Alright, so it looks like we're going to the moon. Are we going to check the shop? No, I think we found everything we need here. So we'll see what the character is. If this is Cecil here, I would probably take him.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely able to slingshot him back to to a decent level with a couple King Rio grinds. Otherwise, like I said, unless it's that.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there you go. We'll soon find out if he does want him after all.
He's got 10 key items. I believe he has an hourglass siren. You can give. He's gonna get rid of Kane. Okay, I'm down with this play. Now he's gonna do a gold dragon fight, and if you happen to double life it, and he's got a low enough anchor where that's on the table, he's gonna get 240k experience. With the slingshot, that would be 480k experience, and that's gonna take him to, I want to say, around 38 or so in one fight.
Now, I am a little surprised that he's still keeping Tella around. Is there something that maybe I'm not picking up because of that?
The weak spell.
Oh, yeah, that would do it. For some reason, yeah, that would do it.
Now, it's not entirely necessary because we have arrows. So, but if you use if Artemis arrows is going to be your way knocking down the boss, you're not going to get the triple life, the 2 life potions on here. So there's that. I would probably considered getting rid of Rydia. But at this point, I get it. Mages, can be super powerful. And maybe we find a Bahamut here.
That would be a nice pickup. And yeah, here comes our little grind. While Zilch does get through Rubicon Seal Cave, as Darkest Crystal will probably soon be joining Antidale up on the moon.
Alright, so we're gonna see. Oh, you don't have MP. So one thing you got to remember when setting up this Ice 2 is to give the ATB a little bit of time for that second character to catch up. Otherwise, I think he's got the setup here for me. Oh, maybe we're gonna give Rydia some experience.
Oh, hey, look at that! Yes, perfectly in position for a slingshot on her too.
And that would explain the reasoning to get rid of Kane. Rydia's gonna also get a pretty decent amount of levels, not as many as because her XP chart requires way more experience than everybody else. All right, get the Ice 2. Did we get a double here?
I think it's just a single, but still, that'll be a hefty chunk of.
Yeah, the timing can be a little tricky. And get all right. So Tella's gonna now take on anchoring duty, and this should be 180k. And yep, 38 on Cecil, and probably gonna get to around 34, 35. Oh, never mind. That was 38 on Rydia and 40 on Cecil. Okay, so I underestimated how.
That's a fairly strong party in very little time, as checks VO in spots is finding being nope rope. But he's got the levels. He might want to try to take this one on.
Yeah, it's a little rough because a large part of his damage would be through magic, which means he has to. If he doesn't want to eat a bunch of blaze counters, then he has to bounce them off. And we can see it looks like he might not have healed ahead of time. And one thing Ogo loves to snack on is parties that decided to not fully heal up before they come into fight.
Yeah, deciding that that's going to take too long, so he's going to out of there. And probably not head on back now. He's heading back out.
And my guess would be heading immediately to the. Sure enough, gonna call forth the whale. Antidale is gonna do a little more grinding. I'm not sure if he does get the 2 life potions off, so
Very nice.
you're
Yes.
going to see 240k experience here. You want to at least get Palom and Rydia to Lit 3 because we know Odin is a required boss fight. If he happens to be here on the moon, having Lit 3 is pretty useful. And might actually just get them both up to Nuke. And there's Cure 4. Oh, we're so close.
Almost. Got the Meteor, but not Nuke levels.
Yeah, so Palom's at 50. At this point, when you're that close, I would probably go ahead and do it. But he might also be counting on the Wyvern spot being enough, and it will almost... I am pretty sure it will. He'll get double experience from this fight. So, now this spot... Okay, he did heal. Oh, but doesn't have cabins? That could be a little bit of a time sink.
That could be a little annoying since the tents only give you 1,000 hit points a pop, and 100 MP refill a pop as well. Here's a question for you. At this point in time, you've got you have to clear out the Crystal Sword altar, but then you just got 2 more boss hunts left. Do you spend any time killing any of the bosses, looking for maybe the Earth Crystal, since that is holding you back from a 2 boss check? Or are you just going to be checking through here, resetting if it's not one of the ones you need to find?
Yeah, it's a tough call. I would probably... Oh boy, CPU. So I would head down below and... Oh man, I think I would probably start resetting out of bosses if you're... The pressure might get to you. But so yeah, CPU is a bummer here. You can tell how much HP he has because Remedy heals for 10%. So you take the amount he heals for, multiply it by 10, and you get a rather large number that you don't want to see, which in this case would be 20k. I'm not sure if he did the back row glitch on Cecil, but if he didn't, you see him equipping the Dwarf Axe, so he might be just enabling it right here. But it keeps wall on it at all times, so you know Nuke's not going to be any good help here. Sure, you could cast Quake on it, and Quake will penetrate that. But if the attacker goes down too, now you get hit with Globe 199. Now, the magic spot in this particular spot isn't that great, so Cecil might survive a Globe 199, which might lend you to just Zerk Cecil, cast Meteo, and then be done with it. But we'll see.
On Zilch's screen, we see that he found the officer in Bahamut and did decide to take it on. Only getting a ribbon for his troubles, though.
I think at that point, the fight is free and is such a small time and go ahead and go on with it and be done with it. So, did not really get value from Cave Bahamut, sadly, but now has Rydia and Palom with Nuke. So, Zilch is going to get through these fights really quickly. Alright, and Meteo success. Does Cecil get the job done? He sure does.
Nice fight on Antidale side, and that's an hour and a half into the C. That's number 3 on our care of.
And that is Nuke and Holy on our twin. They are good to go, but we do not get a key item from it, so just a Masamune, which at this point is basically money, and that's about it.
If they even need that anymore. So yeah, I think we're at the situation where at least if I were playing this, I would just be scouting off the moon, trying to find any of these locations, and if I don't find them, if I don't find Evil Wall or Odin, geez, do I go to the Giant next?
I probably it depends if you have 1 or 2 left. Giant's the more costly spot. I would probably check package first because you can at least reset out of it and do it a little quicker. But it is a crapshoot. Now, if Zilch goes top down here, I wonder if that's gonna. He did Cave Bahamut first, so yeah, is gonna do the Peldim spot next. So we'll see if that kind of helps out. Zilch might be feeling quite a bit behind, and Antidale is resetting out of boss spots now.
Right. Yeah, it's possible that if you go through the moon, either you don't find both of them, or you don't find you're missing one more boss spot. I could be talking to killing a couple of these. Oh, no Golbez there. Thank you.
Yeah, no thanks.
Oh, we did find Evil Wall up in the top of the lunar subterranean, so that is 1 point in favor of Zilch there.
I wouldn't have been surprised to see Antidale finish the doll fight, just because it's something you could get done relatively quickly. With hourglasses and a couple quakes, that fight is done and done. But we're at an hour and a half now, and it's getting a little tight here, and it looks like we're only going to have one of our bosses on the moon. Oh boy.
Oh boy. I mean, so it's a question: do you dig for the Earth Crystal, or do you run towards the Giant? It's two boss places either way. It's a terrible choice to have to make.
Yeah, there's no fun answer here. Now, Antidale is going to check the Peldum spot and is going to have Odin down, or going to have Evil Wall down. So Odin's the only one we're looking for. Evil Wall in this spot is kind of rude. The physical attack in this spot is decent. And Evil Wall is a dirty, rotten cheater and is going to take turns whenever he wants because he doesn't care about agility. He just goes. So for a mage-heavy party, this can kind of be rough, but our party is at such a level that I don't think it's going to make a big deal.
Yeah, at this point, I think it's just a question of how fast can you get done with it rather than can I get done with it. I think it just all depends on the luck of the draw, who Evil Wall hits, and could potentially petrify, but Zilch does get through it without many issues and is going to get another objective done. It just as Antidale is going to start that fight.
Yep, so it's going to get the Evil Wall down. Is probably going to head down to LST, and I think we're going to see the same kind of strategy that we saw Antidale take here. Going to head to the Wyvern spot, get that done, get rid of our CPU, and then probably reset out of the boss fights. Might take the doll fight. I'm not sure. Golbez, I kind of think you just, no thanks.
Oh gosh, no. If he's got the Earth Crystal, I'm going to be here.
And if he's got the Sand Ruby, then sorry, Foo. we're not getting you the seed.
Worst case scenario, I do leave a save up here on that. If you wind up going to the Giant and got nothing there, then I have an easy way to get back and start taking out some of these other bosses.
And you can see the physical damage of this spot kind of taking a toll a little bit on Antidale. Zilch was able to get a couple, already had at least one nuke caster, now at this point has two. So I was able to get a lot more damage spike early, whereas Antidale is kind of going for a little bit of a longer fight here. Isn't going to have too much of a problem. Yeah, gets the fight down, but lost a little bit of time to catch up. The CPU fight's going to take him, a good minute or two, but is probably going to reset out of the fights here and isn't going to be that far behind.
No, so it's going to come down to, at this point, very much come down to just who's luckier at guessing the right place where Odin is still hiding.
And while it's not a key item, getting an apple spot is not the worst thing in the world, because we're not going to find a Rosa or a Fu here. So our HP count, as far as doing a reflect strat, is going to be not great. It's going to be not terrible, because we're going to be sitting at some pretty high levels, especially if we end up taking on the Giant. So anyway, you can get those mage HP totals boosted, especially when you have a Porum, is pretty nice.
Especially if you have the Rydia as well, who's never really gets very high with hit points. Always in danger of going down with a big bang with a very high roll.
Yeah, for sure. I would expect Antidale after this. I kind of hope he checks the Giant. The issue with checking Giant, of course, is that element spot has like 60k HP, and it's gonna take the same thought process that Zilch had here, is that It's a free boss. It's gonna take you, 45 seconds or so. Just get it done and over with. But yeah, the HP on that giant, on that element spot is quite a bit. And if CPU spot doesn't pay off, in that point in time, your opponent can probably check both the package and the first boss in Zot. You can check the Maga Sister spot without requiring the Earth Crystal, and hey, that could be what we're looking at.
Now, that would be something else if someone make a play on Zot without having the Earth Crystal and finding Odin spot. That would be something else.
I'm kind of rooting for it to be packaged a little bit here, but I think at this point, like, we've gotten enough rudeness from our runners that I kind of feel bad, and we're not. We've seen most of the nasties here, so there's not too much left of elements that's going to scare it. Wait a minute. I'm totally wrong about that. We haven't seen Kainazo yet, have we?
No, we have not.
Oh boy. Oh please. Can we have Odin at CPU behind Kainazo at elements? Can we have that?
Oh, that would be as mean as you can get.
Now at our levels, that's not too bad per se, but that wave is still rocking, 2300 HP, and Porum takes quite a bit to get up to that HP level. Now Antidale is going to head back into the. He's thinking about it. He's thinking. Do I want to clear out any of these bosses? We had Doll's fight was fairly free at this point, so maybe that's where he's going. Nope.
No. Second thoughts.
It's such a tough call, man. It's you kind of would like to get that Earth Crystal, but we still have the Feymarch bosses too. So there's no guarantee that even taking on those moon bosses is going to get us anything.
I mean, I think at this point you've got 2 open checks at the giant. You have 1 check to make at the package. I think you make both of those checks before you really start hunting down the Earth Crystal. Just because they're available.
And that seems to be the plan. Antidale is heading to the giant. Oh man, can we get a Kainazo here? Please.
As I said, you got this seed has already been something out of people's nightmares. That would just take it right over the edge.
I don't think we have a lot of freedom left either. Pretty much only Bahamut that I can think of that we haven't seen yet. We've seen all the other free bosses.
We haven't seen Dark Knight Cecil yet, which does going to do decent amount of damage, but still should be able to get through it.
Dark Knight, they would love to. You won't have to worry about doing any kind of damage. That would be one of the better ones to see. Dark Knight Cecil at CPU would be a little bit of a bummer, but still doable.
Yes.
So let's see who we got here.
Zilch is taking the doll fight, by the way, and it's definitely a very doable fight at this point, especially when you've got things like media that you can just throw out willy-nilly.
Well, the King of the Seas resides inside the giant Fabul, and this is not a bad fight here at all. Weak to lightning, and we've got 2 Lit 3 casters. Cecil's got an X-Cal. It's gonna be a lot of HP to chew through. So it'll still take some time. But the magic spot in this particular spot isn't great, and it's just Ice 2, so I think we're okay here.
No, this is absolutely doable. Given what's left, I'm happy to take this. And Zilch says nope to Golbez, like we expect anyone to do at this point in the seed.
Yep, and looks like I don't see an Earth Crystal on the tracker, so it looks like that doll spot did not pay off. So it's gonna head to the Ogo spot and probably reset out of this. Zeus Gauntlet, which is a nice item definitely when you have the next Cecil, but not really what we're looking for at this point. Yeah, our party's plenty powerful enough, and sees Antlion, and by virtue of just not healing, kind of tells you.
Apparently, Zilch actually didn't even take this hustle. I missed that. I kept Kane.
Well, I think Zilch had done a pretty good amount of grinding beforehand,
Sure.
so didn't want to go through the extra 2 or 3 fights that would be required. So yeah, resets out, is going to head back to Earth, and if he checks Giant here, he's probably a couple minutes behind Antidale. If he doesn't check Giant, checks Package, Zot, or Feymarch bosses, then it gets interesting.
We're getting to that situation where just it comes down to the luck of the draw. Okay? Whoever finds could be put in the driver's seat very quickly.
And it's just Lugate. That's a bummer. So Giant is not what we're looking for here.
Oh, Zilch never did music, so it looks like that's where he's going next.
That's okay. Kind of. I would, if you've put off harp this long, I think you got to check it.
Yeah,
I was thinking maybe you get the Feymarch bosses and hope for Earth Crystal there, but not. I think percentage-wise, Giant might have actually made the most sense for him, but is going to get the package from here and probably feel compelled to follow that up. And I think that's what Antidale is checking right now.
So Antidale gets the sit through this couple-minute long cutscene. Oh, hey, it's a second Tella.
Well, we know who our dupe is, and is that a ground tanking Zemus deciding to burn down the Village Mist?
So since it's been a while since we've heard the music and we've been talking for about an hour 45 at this point, why don't we give our voices a little rest and listen to this wonderful piece of music one more time.
Alright, so Zilch is going to check our package boss here, and we'll have another answer at this point in time.
Who's going to be the one that the runners want? That's the question.
No, it's Dark Knight's Vessel.
Bother.
So, do you check Zot first? No, I think you got to check the first Zot boss first. And if it's not there, then it's kind of got to be at Zot 2. And then we have an entirely different boss hunt. Like this could take a completely different left turn. Oh?
It looks like Antidale is going to clear out the moon first, not check Zot 1. Which, to be fair, is something, especially when you've been playing for this long. You're an hour 45. No, is he going to come back down? I could be wrong. Looks like he's coming back down, and well, hopefully checking out Zot 1 because nothing else for him to do at this point down here.
I mean, he might
cautious.
not. He might not have even remembered that you can check Zot 1 without having the Earth Crystal. I mean, it's not a situation that comes up very often. Or might be checking on the Ogo spot.
This is the time when all these rather nasty boss spots we've been leaving behind start to come to bite you, because now we got to realize we got to go through these, and they might not be fun, but one of them is holding the answer.
I mean, if it's Zot 2 and it's sitting behind that Golbez, we still have quite a bit of time before I think our runners want to do that one. That could be the last thing. But this, like, Antidale, who had been sitting on a probably 4 to 5 minute content lead, it's now anybody's race.
Absolutely. It's just, again, just comes right down to whoever gets lucky, finds the right place to look, is going to be able to take this thing down.
Now, if Zilch checks the Giant here and doesn't go into Zot 1, that's going to give Antidale a little bit of his lead back. But I believe he left his save point in Toroya, which kind of leads me to believe that as soon as he sees DKC here, he's going to reset and head right into Zot.
That'll be a very clever play. I wonder if he thinks he's behind, if he has to do things like, like the Zot without the Earth Crystal, possibly, make up time on Antidale.
On the other hand, if Antidale actually finds the Earth Crystal here at Ogo, it's the Sand Ruby. I mean, you can get Fu. Of course, if you had saved prior to going to Kaipo, you wouldn't be able to get Fu, because now you trigger the Kaipo cutscene. I would probably reset out of this. I wonder if he's considering actually grabbing Fu.
I mean, at this point, you don't need him to beat the game. Your party is perfectly fine without taking on Z right now. So I would probably just say I can't waste more time tweaking the party. I gotta get that Earth Crystal somewhere. I gotta look for Odin.
Well, we're about to see if this seed is going to end in 7 minutes or 37 minutes, because Zilch is checking. Is going to check Zot 1, and Antidale is right on his heels.
Oh my. If Zot 1 has the Odin spot, we could be in for a photo finish.
I mean, this seed has already been such a fountain of evil for our runners that having it come down to execution on Reflect Stract is just going to be absolutely delicious. And there he is!
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Oh goodness!
All right, so we could have gotten Odin right away if all we had to do was go into Zot without the Earth Crystal. I always do that.
Oh, absolutely! That's the most obvious check in the game.
So we're going to get rid of Odin here. Our runners may lose or gain about 15-20 seconds here if they don't remember. You can cast Warp in the Tower of Zot.
And with that, finally finding the elusive Odin, Zilch gets his crystals in go mode. Antidale right on his tail. We could just be right in line for a photo finish, and who can get their Reflect Strats up and running against Z better. This is not how I expected this seed to end, I must tell you.
Antidale is at Zilch is walking it out, so Antidale can make up some time here if he casts Warp. Antidale is at a little bit of a disadvantage here because I see his Rydia sitting at around 1380 HP, which means she don't have nuke, and this party is almost certainly going to be a full Reflect strat, and that's gonna put him a little bit behind here. Zilch's team has more potency for that strategy.
Antidale looks to be walking it out as well.
I thought Zilch was going to check that treasure chest, and if that had the flame dog, I'm like, bruh.
There's a time and a place, man.
Right? Alright, so, and we don't have the pass, so there could be a couple seconds made up on execution here if you don't bonk on a bunch of walls. One of my specialties. As soon as you know you're in go mode and you're wrapping up a super trolley seed and you're making what sure feels like a walk of shame, and then you decide to run into every single wall that's there.
Bonk, bonk, bonk. Yep, I'm right there with you.
One other advantage that Zilch is going to have in having levels is that when you go into the Zeramus fight, particularly with Reflect strats, it is significantly easier if you can hit one of those agility breakpoints to make Zeramus as slow as possible. And with the mages, it's almost always agility 28. And Porum hits 28 at level 57, I believe. And Zilch's is sitting at 58. So he's got the 28 agility anchor, and Zeramus is going to be relatively slow. Although I haven't seen a silk web yet, and I feel like if our runners had a silk web, there were quite a few bosses that they could have used it on that would have been advantageous.
Yes. Meanwhile, Antidale has traded Anchor, taken Tella to Basidia, parked him at the tower, and got Sid instead.
If Tella has enough level, I think Sid starts at agility 9, either 9 or 8, somewhere in that neighborhood. He does have a dwarf axe, because I remember he equipped the dwarf axe on the CPU fight in order to back row glitch. So that's gonna pull him down to around 4 agility, I think. It's gonna enable him RA1, but RA1 strats going full reflect can be pretty difficult, especially if you don't lower the battle speed. Your run buffering better be on point. So this is going to be a tougher fight for Antidale than it is for Zilch by quite a bit.
I wonder if Antidale will be going for that, because he has been using the Avenger sword on Cecil.
I mean, if you had a Unihorn, you could probably get around, I want to say 4k around. So a couple of nukes might push you to around 40k, 45k or so, and then at that point in time, you've got more than enough spells to do a refill skip. It would require a lot of precision to pull it off if that's how you want to do it. And he may not know how many more levels that Zilch has than him. I think both runners probably feel massively behind at this point.
Oh, absolutely. They've been trolled so hard by the sea, but now, as we're taking that long walk to Zero, we've got a question that we need to ask ourselves, point people. That question is, whose butt are we going to kick tonight to end this absolutely dreadful seed?
Because our runners have had their butts kicked enough.
Oh yes, it's time to enact some revenge.
I feel like with us getting a Scala Kitty special, that Dream Devour seems awfully appropriate at this point in time.
The Zilch entering the fight. And after Cecil puts on the Excalibur, if Antidale entering the fight, right on his tail. This, again, it's going to come down right down to execution.
Alright, so we should see Kane go first here. I'm thinking Porum has passed the breakpoint, so she would go second, probably Starvale, and then let the nukes fly. If we have a Silk Web, you can have telecast the Silk Web, and then if you got a Cure 3, Kane takes care of that, and then everybody else is slinging high level spells. Oh my goodness, what are you?
Hydromus.
I mean, just look at Tella's face, and look how close that boss is to him. I'd be concerned.
I hope they've taken a couple breath mints.
So first nuke doesn't hit. That's just a quirk of the invincibility not necessarily wearing off. Okay. The second nuke should hit tier. And so yeah, you were right. It looks like Cecil is going to have that Avenger, Excal Avenger going. So it looks like we're going to see hybrid strats on Antidale's side. The ball is in Zilch's court here because he's going to have a reef pull skip, so a little less work to do as far as HP goes.
I'm going to say that if our runners watch this race back and want to relive this, I don't know why they want to necessarily, but if they do run it, I'm sure they'd be shocked just to see how close they were together.
Hitting Rydia is fantastic for Antidale's spot. Rydia not having nukes, so she's not really going to contribute here. At this point, it's going to be nukes from Palom, Cecil being at RA1. That's the damage here. On Zilch's side, we're slinging spells here. Let's see if we see some cure potions out here. If Zilch decides to go, full on all offense here and doesn't decide to heal up, we're going to see a fully powered Big Bang coming up.
It'd be a little dangerous. Question in chat, what's the Excalibur Avenger strats? The Avenger is a sword that automatically puts you to the Berserk status, but it also has a little quirk. If you change to it in battle, you get to keep the levels, or the strength of your original weapon. So if you have a really strong weapon like the Excalibur and then switch to the Avenger, you're hitting with the Avenger with the Berserk, but you're getting the power of the Excalibur. So it's a little bug that we take advantage of.
All right, so now Porum sitting at 2100 HP is going to be super nice here. And has a white shirt on, so is likely to survive a full-powered Big Bang. The rest of the party, not so much, but Zilch should be about 1 or 2 spells away. We're getting super close here. This roll is the game right here.
Yes. Just holding on.
Yep, I think that's enough. If this nuke doesn't do it, we see it. We wait for the black hole, throw up a star. Oh, there is the flash.
There it is. My goodness! Congratulations and GG to Zilch winning this one. We'll have the official time in just a moment, but that for the twists and turns that this took our runners on, just absolutely well done. Zilch finishes up with a time of 1 hour, 58 minutes, 26 seconds.
Oh, and it looks like Antidale took a wipe on rocks. That is such a bummer, but I totally do not blame him for being as offense-oriented as he was, because he had to, with all the content that he had to clear just to get to this point. Like, the other racer is about to finish. So it's a bummer. He has seen the dot done at this point in time, so he's probably gonna take the second fight a little more safer here.
Right.
Man, this was a banger of a race, and I don't think we have enough questions that we could possibly ask Zilch, who has just hopped into chat. But congratulations on this banger of a seed. Initial thoughts?
Blame Scala Kitty. I think that seems pretty fair. That early Wyvern and Valvalis. Oh my god.
Scala Kitty special there. So
yeah, I asked her to be nice, and that's what she does. Unbelievable.
So when you finally went up to Zot and did the last ditch Zot 1 check on Odin, what was going through your mind?
I mean, I had that and Giant left, and I guess the hunt for the Earth Crystal. I figured Antidale had already done Giant because he's known for that. So I figured pray that I get lucky there. I mean, I guess you have a decent odds, but oh man, that was stressful.
That was the difference in the race. Antidale did check the Giant. First boss at Elements was Leviathan. So second boss was Lugae, so reset out, and you guys went into Zot at almost the same time. The other breaking point for you was that you took the time to grind your Rydia and Palom to nuke significantly earlier, so Antidale did not go in with nuke on Rydia, and therefore did not get the refill skip that you did.
Rough. I figured I had a great team for Zeromus really early. After I saw the items in Kokol's shop, I figured the grind wouldn't be too bad on the eggs, and just get nuke and white early, and then supposedly get through the rest of the seed without problems, and then there were still problems, but the thought was there. That's what counts, right?
Absolutely.
So how are you feeling after you had taken, you had one boss, the Val fight, rip, peace out, and then you get to Dwarf Castle, and then Wyvern was like, hey, how you doing? So 2 boss fights that you had to kind of take a reset and think about what your strategy was going to be. What were you thinking at that point?
I think I took 3 wipes, went to Ruby early, or Elements early too, so that didn't help. Wasn't feeling great at that point. I didn't know if I was behind per se, because I didn't see Antidale doing Valvalis early either with the team we had. And the main issue I had was I didn't actually check if anyone lived through the Omega Nuke the first time. So it's very possible someone was alive, and I just reset before checking, because I forgot about that, and that was my main concern, because if that happened to Antidale and he had someone live and was able to get through it, I feel like that'd be a pretty big lead.
Yeah, Antidale did take a wipe on the first one, and then the second fight, he had kept his Rydia at level 1, so had an anchor going into that point.
I actually didn't know if a fresh Kane would be a good enough anchor. I moved my party members around to get him in the middle, and apparently it wasn't, but luckily Palom survived the Mega Nuke.
Yeah, that was the main concern at that point in time, was you guys had kind of hit the Wyvern spot at kind of the same time, like within 5 minutes of each other, but Antidale had an anchor ready for the situation and you didn't, and we're like, Wyvern kind of has to miss. That's pretty much what we're looking at, and he did.
If that wasn't going to work, I was going to go get Eddie and use him. I really hoped I didn't have to do that, but that was plan C.
This was certainly a C that made you go through plan C, D, E, F, all the alphabet.
Yeah, it's like I knew Valvalis was going to be rough in that spot. Like, maybe Porum with the power staff can still hit. Maybe with Berserk. No, didn't hit. I'd give it a shot, though, before resetting.
So, let me be the first to congratulate you on your 3rd win, and therefore you're guaranteed to at least be able to come back and play in for the bracket. How are you feeling about your chances to determine overall now?
Yeah, I feel much better now that I can at least make it to a play-in match and play the bracket flags, because I feel like I prefer those to these, where you can actually, loot Watery Pass with Tella and then exit out, and that's always fun.
Yeah, buddy.
So yeah, I feel good from that perspective. There's so many good people in this competition that it's, like this race could have easily gone either way. I saw Antidale had the media wipe, which really sucks, but even without that, I'm sure it was neck and neck. So anyone can win any match at this point. So, I'm enjoying it. I guess that's what counts, but definitely stressful.
There was not a lot of enjoyment to be had in that. Let's be honest.
Enjoying the tournament in general, not the
There you go.
specifically.
There you go. Okay. Uh, yeah, sweet. So you are guaranteed a spot in the bracket play-in at least. If you win the next one, then you don't have to do the play-in game. You will qualify for the round of whatever that round is. I think 32 automatically. So yeah, and it looks like Antidale has just wrapped up his Zerum's fight. Finishes at a time of 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 20 seconds.
GG to him. It's tough to wipe on the first one. But, happy to see that he got through it with fairly little difficulty for the second time.
Yeah, had he not wiped on the first one, this would have been about a.
Oh,
You guys were never more than like 5 minutes.
glad we made it exciting.
Alrighty, well, any other last thoughts before we get Antidale in here?
Thanks for the commentary, restream, tracking, and I guess I'll thank Scala Kitty for the seed, even though I don't know if I really want to, but I'll do it anyway. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yep.
GG, congratulations.
Alright. Oh, go ahead.
We're now joined in the chat room here with Antidale as well. GG, luck on that first Z fight.
Yeah, thank you. It was close. Almost had it, but just kind of stretched my resources a little too thin with that pretty low level Porum and Rydia, who I didn't get enough levels out of in my kind of mini grind.
So this seed. Tell us about the gem that was this seed. How you went through, especially the early game per se, when all of your friends decided to make an appearance.
Yeah, I kept notes and wrote 2 Womp Womps, one with the Val and then one with the Wyvern, because I was like, oh, well, I'm way behind now, taking a chance on Baron, even though it wasn't necessary to do, and then Val shows up, and I'm like, well, that's 2 to 3 minutes dead, and then Wyvern comes out, and I don't get a Star Veil off on time, and I kind of caught the end of Zilch's interview, and I'm pretty sure I also reset before I saw whether or not Palom took it in the face, or whether he would have dodged. So when someone dodged on the second time around, I was like, "Oh, that was a problem. That was a bad reset."
Yeah, you guys had both taken one wipe to that fight. You were actually in a better situation keeping Rydia at level 1 for that particular fight, because then you had an RA1 anchor ready to go, whereas Zilch did not and kind of had to rely on Palom dodging, which he thankfully did. You guys were never really more than 5 minutes apart. How were you feeling when you got to the point where you had the moon sitting there, but you still had a couple of checks that might have been doable, but not exactly fun?
I was not gonna touch that Gauntlet at Leviathan. That's just too much time, and I didn't really care who was at Asura. It probably had to be D-Lunars, and I just didn't want to fight them. So it was just one of those, like, I'm just gonna go to the moon and check bosses, because really the only thing that was gating at that point was Earth Crystal that I didn't know or didn't have the access to a boss.
Yep. There were definitely trickiness abound here. I was a little sad. You were the only runner to make the play for the Giant, and the Giant did not have what we were looking for. Unfortunately, I was kind of hoping for the way the seed was looking. Odin at CPU behind Kenazo, who we never saw. Guess he took the night off.
Yeah, he's kind of done with being soup. Yeah, I was a little sad that the Giant betrayed me. I would have also really liked those levels, because I did cut my grind short because I was feeling behind and just kind of was hoping to get at least one more high XP boss that I had to fight.
Yeah, that was really the difference going into the Z fight. Zilch got in like maybe 20, 30 seconds ahead of you, but he had Rydia and Palom at nuke levels, and Porum was sitting at 57, so she was just fine as an anchor, and was able to go full reflect. And that was kind of the difference in the Z fight. Although if you had just gotten like a little better luck with the rolls and media, you only would have been like 30-40 seconds behind anyway.
Yeah, it would have been really close, but GG zilch6 definitely pulled it out and did well. That was a heck of a seat.
It was an adventure.
Absolutely, it was definitely a seed that I'm glad I watched and didn't play. So that unfortunately that drops you down to 2-2, 500 for the tournament. You got one more chance to qualify next week with the round 5 of the Swiss ones. If you get a third win, then you can take it to the at least a play-in game to the brackets. How are you feeling about your chances?
Nothing like a little pressure. We'll see. I had come into this hoping to at least go 2 and 3, so we're pretty. I'm where I wanted to be. I definitely would like to go 3 and 2. Both of the races I've lost were close, so I've got a shot. But depending on who I'm facing, we'll see.
Alrighty, well, it looks like we're pretty close to wrapping things up. Do you have any final thoughts before we go ahead and wrap things up here?
Well, thanks to you both for the comms and PK for tracking and Scala for rolling quite a gem. I think that probably is in there in the realm of the classics. It might be a slight tier below the true Scala Kitty classics, but it was definitely worthy. And just thanks everyone. It's been fun.
Thank you very much. GG to you. And good luck next round.
Thank you.
Yes, this was definitely a Clips and Seeds special, so to speak. All right, well that'll get us done here. We will be moving on to catch Penguinator, who is doing some practice from bracket flags now that he is, I believe, 3-0 at this point in the tournament. So, or 4-0. I think 4-0 now that I think about
Did he win his game as well? Oh well.
I don't remember. Hey, he's very, very good, and
Yes.
so we'll be moving. And thanks for checking this out. We will be doing Fabul Gauntlet races all throughout the week, so be sure to keep your eyes peeled on both this channel, RPG Limit Break, and Free Enterprise. Shout outs to our tracker PK, Scala for giving us an adventurous seed, my dogs for barking in the background, Flax, appreciate the commentary with me, and
You too, Flurry. Thanks so much.
you bet, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Have a good one.